Wellness Radio. In my life, it came a time when I had to make a choice. You know, the things just weren't right. I looked around for someone else to blame. I searched and I searched and I reached down inside. And I knew when I found there's a light I can't hide. I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from Radio Free Santa Cruz, KSCO, one of the last remaining free radio stations there is out there, and we're very happy that it's here. Just want to put a plug out for any of you that have been listening to Michael Zwerling's plight. Do what you can to help the station stay doing what it's doing, which is providing us great information. Times of great, I remember when the earthquake happened and a lot of the other issues that have happened. If it wasn't for KSCO, we wouldn't be able to communicate because they have the ability to broadcast despite the lack of power. We need them here. We need to support the individual independent radio stations. So anyway, the title of my show today is the difference between macro and micro healing of the body. And I'll go into that, how our body actually does heal. And, the previous show they were talking about toxicities in the body, toxins in the environment, accumulation in every cell in our body. And not only that, in the tissue surrounding every cell in our body. And once this stuff gets polluted or plugged up, nothing lives well. And Dr. Young was talking about the interstitium or the lymphatic system, which every cell and organ, every blood vessel, every neuron, every nerve in your body has a lymphatic drainage around it, making sure that it operates clean. It's kind of like having a clean room in a computer chip building factory. If it isn't clean enough, in that case, 100% clean, you're going to have a faulty product. And that's basically what happens when your body's not functioning well. You have a faulty product, disease is going to occur, and it's going to break down. I was listening to a good friend of mine, Dr. Curtis Martin, this morning, talking about maintenance of the body. Now, maintenance is one of the things people want to do, thinking that they're already have arrived to optimum health. And a lot of times they're just maintaining the quality of health that they have, and they're treading water, which is really a shame because, we have one time on this planet, and we live in the greatest country in the world, and we should be able to imagine goals, imagine things that we want to accomplish, and then go out and bring those into fruition. And what an amazing opportunity we've had growing up in this world, in this country specifically. And I just see so many patients come in that are just coping with their existence. I had a woman come in the other day. She had extreme low back pain. She had neck pain, arm pain, aches in every joint of her body, and she'd been diagnosed with something called fibromyalgia, which I'm sure you've heard about by now. For years, it was not even recognized in the Western medical philosophy because they didn't understand it. They still don't understand it. And in fact, most alternative healthcare practitioners don't really understand it because they're treating the symptoms with supplements and never getting to the root cause of the problem. And the root cause of most problems happen from a cellular level, on a cellular basis, toxins inside the cell. And so we were talking about, Dr. Martin and myself, about the stem cell machine, the TRT machine, the soft wave therapy machine that you've heard me advertising about, the $49 special for so many years now. And I have some testimonials from people, but he really explained it in a really interesting way that I thought got further into an understanding of what's going on with this stem cell machine. Now, a lot of people have come in and used it, and almost everybody gets great results from it. But one thing that he brought up is it works 100% of the time on a microscopic level, because the FDA, I forget what the exact term is regarding the machine, understands that the sound, which comes out at 3,358 miles an hour, it's an electrosonic wave that comes in, and it actually works at a cellular level. And the cool part about it is, many times I've talked about aging cells. They're called senescent cells, senile or aging cells. They're worn out. They're no longer doing what they're supposed to. They're basically retired with nothing to do, but they sit there, and like a bunch of apples, they start to rot and rot the rest of the apples. So this happens in our joints. It happens in every organ in our body, including our brain. So think about so many times people come in and they say, my knee's bone on bone. And so many times at this point, it doesn't even faze me. I take an x-ray of their knees, and I'd say 80% of the time, I see meniscus separating the two bones. And what Dr. Dr. Martin was explaining is that he believes that what the orthopedists or the other doctors are talking about is the cartilage that surrounds the bone on top of the bone between the two meniscus. Those cartilages do wear out, but oftentimes it isn't hard bone against hard bone. That cartilage is worn out. And when that occurs, you're going to actually get a wearing of the meniscus, or in your back, the discs, or in your shoulder, the labrum, and these will eventually wear out. So what the stem cell machine is known to do, and it will actually go in there and help regenerate those cells at that level of the cartilage. So it's on covering the bone. So it will rehydrate them. We get new blood flow in there. It actually drives in stem cells, which basically there is a cascade of healing. And oftentimes, well, anytime you injure yourself, the first step is inflammation. That usually lasts 1 to 10 days. I'm sure everybody here is at least sprained something, whether it's an ankle, a finger, a back, a shoulder, even an attitude. The first thing that happens is that there's inflammation, swelling. That swelling is an opening up of the blood vessels in the area, so that as the brain perceives this new injury, it's putting certain chemicals into that area where the tissue's been damaged, where you sprained your ankle, or slammed your finger in a door, or lifted too much, or twisted too quickly, or played sports. So that injury immediately swells up, and the holes between the blood vessel, the holes of the blood vessels become more permeable. They become larger. So larger macrophages, which are white blood cells, and various other chemicals go out of the bloodstream, delivered to, by the bloodstream to that damaged area and heal it. Start the healing process. So the first step is the inflammation, and then it's proliferation, which means a whole bunch of stuff comes in. So the inflammation allows the proliferation of the different white blood cells that are going to eat up the damaged tissue, chemicals that are going to mitigate pain and or cause pain even, and various other things. So it also makes way for the stem cells that are constantly flowing around in your body and are also many stored in the bone marrow to come loose and be called to action. So the inflammation is a call to action for the body to send healing elements to that injured joint. So then you have these stem cells, and they actually, there's a something inside the stem cell. There are thousandths the size of a cell called an exosome. And a lot of times when you go to get stem cells injected in your body, which I'll talk about in a minute, they use exosomes to deliver the message. The exosomes are like the message deliverer that tell the damaged tissue what it should do. It tells the stem cell what to become, because a stem cell it can become anything in your body. Wherever it goes, it's like a chameleon. It's going to lay itself over that damaged tissue, whether it's a liver, a kidney, a heart, skin, neurons, and it's going to become that new replacement part, replacement soldier or cell. And so that proliferation stage takes from 1 to 30 days. So first you have the inflammation, it's 1 to 10 days, and then immediately the proliferation, which is going to last from 1 to 30 days. So that's the laying down, the organization. It's almost like you're going to build a house. Well, the lumber supply store is going to have a bunch of trucks come, and they're going to stack up wood, nails, whatever, beams, sheetrock, mud, and they're going to stack that all on the building site. So that's a proliferation or a collection of the material necessary to repair or renew that joint or the building you're building. Next takes up to 300 days, is a remodeling stage of healing. So that remodeling stage would be like, okay, we're going to take these stacks of lumber and nails and sheetrock and plywood, and we're going to start to build a structure. It's called a matrix. A matrix is the structure, and more cells are going to get into that matrix, and it's going to eventually remodel that damaged tissue. So this is what you get. You get first inflammation for 1 to 10 days. You get cell proliferation from 1 to 30 days, where the new stem cells and the chemicals and the building blocks are being brought into the injured area. And then the last stage is 1 to maybe a year, is going to be the remodeling stage. And that is how the body heals on a microscopic basis. So what's very cool about the TRT machine or the stem cell machine is it promotes this whole system. And when you have an old injured joint, say a shoulder that you hurt in high school, maybe an ankle that you sprained a million times, maybe you just twisted your knee the other day and it's swollen, or you were gardening and pulling weeds and you pulled your back. So if you don't have a really good supply of nutrients available, your body's going to do a half-assed job of repairing that area. Or if you're under a lot of stress, which I don't know if you're not driving, don't do this, but if anybody been under stress the last 2 years, raise your hand. Okay, the whole planet, right? So stress shuts down something called the autonomic nervous system. It shuts down your body's ability to heal correctly because it turns on the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight mechanism. So your body is worrying about the tiger that's approaching more than it's worrying about building a really strong structure. So we go through life injuring ourselves and recovering, injuring ourselves and recovering, injuring ourselves and recovering. And if you don't believe this, what happens when you go to a gym and work out? You injure the muscle cells and they're rebuilt. You injure your muscle cells and they're rebuilt. Your stomach cells only last 5 days. Within 5 days, you have a whole new stomach. Heart cells last about 90 days. Okay, muscle cells about 120 days. So our body is constantly remodeling. And what we're trying to do in order to get our bodies as healthy as possible is to enhance the healing ability of the body, thus the stem cell machine. Now, there's only 600 in the country. When I first got mine, there were 200. We have people coming from hours away to get to use it. So that's the stem cell machine, the tissue regenerative therapy machine. That's called a microscopic healing. It heals on a micro basis. Now, what stops or what impedes a body from healing? Stress, like I mentioned, the parasympathetic nervous system shut down and the fight or flight versus or sympathetic nervous system's turned on. Not enough nutrition. So if you're eating a bunch of inflammatory foods, and you can get online and find out about all of the glutens and the toxins and the glyphosate and there's so many toxins out there in the environment. And people blanketly believe that if they try one diet, it's going to solve all their problems. It's helpful, but you do need to do diet variation, which I do mention in my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, and New Hope for Sciatica, which you can find both of them on Amazon. But so you have to make sure that you're not putting more toxins into your body. So what are you eating? Are you eating grains? I hope not. And if you do, very rarely, only when you're in really good health. Breads are so addictive to people because the microbiome in your gut, the bacteria that live in your intestines that digest everything we eat, so many of them crave simple sugars that we think we're craving it, where it's actually not our brain, it's the brain of the microbiome communicating to the microbiome in our brain saying, get this guy to go eat some ice cream or some bread or a sugar cube. And so we want to make sure that we are learning how to eat a healthier diet and changing our fuel ratio from 100% glucose to getting our body to learn how to burn ketones. That again is in my books. I've talked about it many times online. That's not the purpose of the talk today. Really what I want to do today is kind of differentiate between different ways your body heals and some of the amazing breakthroughs and understandings of the stem cell machine. I mean, this thing's only been in the country for a few years. And we are finding out more and more stuff about it all the time. And, I'd have patients, probably 80% of the people, the first treatment have a positive result. Some are amazing results right off the bat. Probably 10% of the people can be more sore afterwards and 10% don't notice a change. And I used to be, a little concerned about the ones that weren't getting well until I really, or were having maybe a little more of pain until I really started to dig in, do a deeper dive. That's what everybody uses now, a deeper dive into understanding exactly what's happening at a microscopic level. And that is the cellular healing level. So again, when we're putting in this sound wave at 3,358 miles an hour, it's a electrosonic sound wave, and it's going through healthy tissue with no problem, but it hits unhealthy tissue at a cellular level, and it starts to break down the old damaged cells. We don't want them in there anyway. That's why you keep spraining your ankle or straining your knee or hurt, re-injuring your shoulder every time you go out and play tennis or weed whack or, bend over to garden. So what we're doing with the stem cell machine now, we know the people that are a little bit more sore, which is a very minority, and sometimes there wasn't a real clear explanation to them as to why. Now we know. The first phase of healing is inflammation, and it's there on purpose. It's your body's ability or desire to open up the area of damage so that new cells can actually be put in there, so that the macrophages, which are white blood cells, and other chemicals can go in there and eat up the damaged tissue. And then these little tiny little cells are they're called exosomes. They're inside your cells, 1,000th the size of a single cell. And they're going to go in there and send signals back to the cell matrix on what that cell should be, whether it's an eyeball cell or a finger or a toe or kidney, liver, gizzard, whatever it is that we have. So that's pretty cool. So now we can say, look, every single time we do this treatment for a patient, it's actually going to be doing this process. It's going to cause a microinflammation. Maybe if it's a lot, that tells us maybe this tissue is more damaged. We've got to slow down a little bit. Or possibly the patient has been on medications. They've been drinking too much alcohol prior to the treatment, too much sugar. They're not drinking enough water. They're not getting enough sleep. There's so many factors that affect the way the body heals. So we're very, very thorough in finding out what's going on in your life. Maybe you're under so much stress that your body couldn't heal if no matter what you did to it. So we want to make sure that the body has got the best chance of healing as possible. And so we're going to start to make sure that this information, that is new information, is coming out, especially the people that come in and are using the stem cell machine at our office. I just want to make sure you're getting the best results. Now, that's the micro. Now, macro healing is the nervous system and the major vascular system. There's a couple parts to this. The nerves that come out of your brain, they're, first and foremost, when an egg and a sperm come together, you have one cell. Within 8 days, you have 8 identical cells. They all look like a bunch of frog eggs in a pond. By day 16, the first thing that you can see on a light microscope is a streak or a straight line. And they realize that straight line is the development of the central nervous system, the nerves that go down the center of your spinal canal. And then there's a bulb at the top of that. It looks like a lollipop. That lollipop, the bulb is your brain, and the spinal cord is the stick. Next, we see little stringy things come off of that pole, or the primordial streak, it's called. 31 pairs of nerves are forming off of that primordial streak. And then they divide and divide and divide till they go to 75 trillion cells eventually. And every one of those cells is doing 60 million functions per minute, all controlled by that lollipop brain with the primordial streak. And it's developing a perfect human being. Now, what gets in the way? Of course, there's several things, but toxins are usually the biggest factor that can be affecting the pregnancy. Toxins are things that specifically are consumed by mom, or inhaled by mom, or put on her skin by mom. They come down 4 generations. So it can be lead, mercury, glyphosate, 278 chemicals that we have found in the umbilical blood of babies that haven't lived outside the womb yet. So now you have this beautiful little embryo developing into a human being, but there's a lot of these toxins in the environment right there, let alone stress that mom's under, that creates a change in the hormones in her body, shutting down the calming parasympathetic nervous system and driving up the sympathetic nervous system. All this has an effect on the way the babies grow. If you have too much toxins in there, then your body's, the genes, the cells inside the cell wall, those toxins get in there and they turn on bad genes. These bad genes can cause genetic defects, and that's where the problem begins. So I'm going to leave it for a minute there. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then I'll be back to wrap everything up. Thank you so much for listening, and tell your friends to tune in to KSCO.com. Also, you can go to McCollum Wellness Radio online. That's my podcast. Any place you find podcasts, McCollum Wellness Radio. And you can also find Dr. Duncan McCollum on YouTube, where almost all my shows have been videoed and are there. I'll be back in a second. Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Gayleen, here, who walked into our office, barely walked into our office.
Hardly able to walk and bent over. And within 3 visits, I was standing up straight, walking. I couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before. It's been a very rough road, but we're getting there, and I'm very grateful.
And you had 2 back surgeries as well, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, in 1995. Yeah.
And so they didn't really solve your problem.
No, they didn't.
And you came in, we did some stem cell treatments on you and some chiropractic on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're happy.
I'm happy. Everyone here is just awesome. They're all here to help you. They're all so sweet.
You should listen to Gayleen, see if we can help your health.
That's right. Anyone that needs help, please come in.
Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I would like you to listen to a couple testimonials from my patients about our new TRT machine. You should come try it, but here's what they have to say.
A year and 2 months ago, I got knocked down by a horse, and I got a grade 2 pull on my hamstring, and from there everything went to hell. I was walking 3.5 miles a day, and went from that to walking less and less because it was so painful, and my other knee started hurting me. And then I stepped off a ladder and jammed my knee. It took me the next morning 5 minutes by the time I stood up to get out of my bedroom. It was so painful. At the same time, I found out about the TRT from the doc, and I knew that that was for me. So almost feeling completely normal. So it's been great. I was walking stiff-kneed on one side because it was just flopping out of place. Now I can bend my knee and walk. I totally recommend this one time, and you'll just go, whoa.
You don't realize how much you use your toes for balance until there's no feeling in them. And so I've got the feeling back in my toes, and my balance is greatly improved. Definitely recommend it.
So call today for your $49 introductory special on the TRT machine to see if it works for you. Call 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. McCollum Family Chiropractic. Nowhere left to go. The truth is right in front of you. You will see. It will make a better road. You search and you reach down inside. And you'll know when you find. Okay, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming back to you. Those were 3 testimonials from the TRT machine, that's soft wave machine I've been talking about here. And so the first one, Gayleen, had 2 back surgeries back in 1995. So that was like 27 years earlier. And she'd just never been the same. She'd always been in pain. She could barely walk into the office. And, what a way to spend 27 years. And so within 1 or 2, we adjusted her, but we also did the stem cell machine on her. And she had amazing results. You heard her testimony. So if we take a look at what happens on an injury and even surgery, is scar tissue forms. And that scar tissue forms like as a matrix. It's kind of like a weave of material. You have a wolf and a warp. And that stuff can become very thick. It could become avascular, meaning there's no blood supply to it. It can tear again. It can limit motion. It can limit flexibility. And actually, nerves actually grow into those scar tissues a lot of the time. And they become very restrictive, painful, limiting. And that's not just with surgery, it's any injury you have. So when we do the stem cell machine over this area, it's actually three things right off the bat. It's increasing blood flow. And it does this specifically by putting new blood vessels and arteries there. So you get new veins and arteries developing over time. And it's kind of like going, hey, there's a fire over here, but we don't have a way to get in here. We got to cut a road up the mountain and get the fire trucks in there. So what the stem cell machine does in this longer process, and that's why we say it can take up to, actually the matrix process takes up to a year, if not more. But the first thing is the inflammation period, which is 1 to 10 days. That could be trying to figure out how to get those cell walls open so that we can get more nutrition, more blood flow, more white blood cells, more what they're called macrophages, and various other chemicals in there to mitigate the problem. So you have to like cut a new road in there. And so the body's so smart now that it has this availability that it is making new blood vessels into the area. Now it doesn't happen, 10 minutes after the first treatment, but it does start the process. The treatment does push out, kind of like wringing out a sponge. It's kind of pushing out some of those chemicals that do cause pain. There's chemicals emitted in the body that irritate nerves. It's in the same brain pain signal to the brain. So it pushes those out. It's also driving in and beckoning your own stem cells to the area. And then it's having the stem cells emit something called an exosome. That's a little army man over there with an antenna that's now signaling to the body what's needed to go in there to fix that thing correctly. Well, oftentimes when somebody has a bad injury, let's just take surgery for an example. It is an injury to the body, and they might be in there fixing something. It might be that you broke a bone, or you needed something repaired. I had my index rupture and I was in the hospital for 5 days. That was Western medicine at its best, saved my life. But nevertheless, scar tissue does form, and that scar tissue can be, if you have any scars on your body, look at them. They're usually, I have one on my arm where a dog's claw went into it when I was a kid, and it's white. It's avascular, meaning there's no blood supply to it, and it's just keloid material. It's just, kind of like a hole that's been plugged. So when we do the stem cell over an old injury like that, we're talking about an old injury, not a new one right now. It still is going to soften up that tissue. It's going to drive in some new fluids to the area, some blood vessels in the area, and it's going to, hey Steve, and it's going to start to drive in new material to remodel the area. A minute ago, I was talking about when you're doing a remodel at your house or you're building a new house, first thing that happens is you have to clean up the building site. And in this case, that's the inflammation in an injury, or what the stem cell machine will do. It creates some inflammation in that old injury to open up the blood vessels so that the material necessary to remodel that area will come into play. And I use the analogy of the trucks bringing the lumber to the building site. So first thing, inflammation. Second thing is the second thing, and that's 1 to 10 days. Proliferation is 1 to 30 days, where now we're delivering all of the stuff that we need to fix the area. So now you have all of the building materials on site and even the construction guys on site. And now they go into the remodeling department. They're going to start to remodel this whole area. And, you know, you have to start from the ground up. You know, usually you have to dig a foundation, or clear out the area, dig a foundation, then pour the foundation, then, you know, put in all of the joists and piers, and then, you know, the flooring, then the walls, and the electrical, you know, all that kind of stuff. And finally, you'll paint the outside, make it pretty, and bring the furniture in, right? So that's how your body heals in that way. So one treatment with the stem cell machine is going to start that process. And a lot of times people have really good results with one treatment, but realize that the healing process isn't done yet. It's going to take up to a year, and maybe even longer, depending on several factors. Toxins in your body, your diet, whether you drink water, alcohol, whether you're eating bad foods, you know, if you're allergic to foods, you're eating them anyway. If you're in a toxic environment, not only chemically, but maybe personality wise, you might have people you work with or family members that are causing so much mental stress that your body's inflamed all the time. So when somebody comes in and I do the first consultation with them, I'm going to dig deep to find out if there's some factors that may make this thing not work as well as it should. And this is why we want to be careful of medications people are taking, the activities that they're doing, whether or not they're willing to do what it takes to get their body, to give their body a chance. So I like to ask a patient, well, if I think I can help them, I'm going to say, look, I'll do everything I can to try to help you, but I just need to ask this of you. Will you do what it takes on your end? Can you promise me that you'll do what it takes on your end so that we can get you the best results possible? Because, you know, I don't want to waste their time or money if I don't think that they're ready to get well. So anyway, the microscopic part we've spent a lot of time on here. I touched on before the break the macroscopic part, which would be, I was talking about how an egg and a sperm come together. Then you have the brain stem, then you have the brain and the brain stem form, then you have 31 pairs of nerves come off of that go to every cell and organ in your body. And all of those organs form off of the nerves. They don't form by themselves. So the nerves are so important. So in the evaluation, if we find, and if I do evaluation of your spine, and I find that if you have a knee problem and there's a problem in your low back pinching the nerve or causing a neurospinal issue as far as the communication from the brain to that knee, I'm going to recommend that we take a look and see if that's possibly is a possible factor. And, you know, some people may just go, no, just do my knee. I just want to see if I can get out of pain. Great. That's what we'll try to do. However, a blockage of the communication from the brain to that whole extremity could be a limiting factor. So that's why it's so important that we look at the nervous system. Then there's also, you know, I've had some very healthy people come in, athletes, pro athletes come in, and they have a strained Achilles tendon or a hamstring, shoulder from pitching, something along that line. And they're in great shape, or they might even have another natural healthcare doctor like a chiropractor or acupuncturist they go to. Well, they don't have the stem cell machine. So I'll do that and work with their other doctor to make sure that we're getting them the best care possible. So it's so exciting to have this machine in my office. And we do have the $49 special. And it's the first visit, we're going to find out what's going on. And we're going to do what's called a mapping session, where we are going to take the probe of the stem cell machine. It's all done on top of your body with a little, with a light. It's an arm that has light coming out and sound coming out at 3,358 miles an hour. And as we're doing a mapping, now what I mean by that on a shoulder, there we know that there's probably 6 different areas in that shoulder, from the upper back to the right where the neck meets, to where your sternum is in the front, and your clavicle and sternum, halfway down your arm, your right down from the shoulder about 3 or 4 inches. If you press there on the outside and there's a bump there, or if you rub down your shoulder along there and it's sore, then you've definitely got some kind of damaged nerves or muscle in that area at a cellular level that the stem cell machine would likely help. So we're going to take a look and see, what's going on. And then the mapping session, we are going to use an intensity that is going to let you know and us know that, yeah, there's a damaged tissue here. And usually we're going to go around 4 to 5 areas. We'll spend a few, they're called clicks. The thing goes pop, 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 click, 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 click on each area that we find hot, so to speak. But we are going to map out the whole area, because we want to know that we're finding everything that we need to. Now, as time goes on, sometimes one area gets better and another area pops up in that shoulder region. But at the end of the mapping session, one of 3 things is going to happen. You're either going to go, wow, that feels so much better. I have more mobility in my arm, and I can't believe how that thing even found those areas that I didn't even know were painful. And wow, that's cool. I can feel the difference. Some people are going to go, I don't really feel much yet. And others might say it's a little, very rare. I mean, very rarely. I don't even think it's 10%. Like I was talking to Dr. Martin about, are more sore. And, it's all okay. We now know that the reason it's a little more sore is because of the first phase, which is the inflammatory phase, where the body's opening up that hitherto closed off, shut down part of the body, where your body tried to heal it and just shut it down and went on to the next emergency. So you never got the shoulder healed right. I'm talking about chronic long-term problems right now. You never got your low back fixed. Maybe you've had a surgery, or a muscle tear, or you've broken something, and you never, or even had replacement of body parts, and it's never healed correctly. Well, we know that there will be inflammation. That's what we want. If we don't get that thing go and become inflamed to some degree, we can't possibly get new stem cells in there. It's like trying to fertilize your tree by putting fertilizer on your cement and then putting water on the cement. You're not going to get any fertilizer below that cement. You've got to get holes in the cement. And that's what the inflammatory process does. It opens up the area so that new stem cells and other nutrients can get into that area. And not only that, but the toxins and broken down cells can get out of that area. So we want that. Now, we can always say, go home and put ice on it, make sure not to exercise too hard on it right now. You can stay away from inflammatory foods. Have a rest this weekend if you can. So many things, if you are one of those very rare people that do have a little bit more of a sensation or potentially pain afterwards or from the swelling. But that's what we want. We want the body to swell up there, because that's the first phase of healing. Because remember, the proliferation or the delivery of the lumber to the building site, the delivery of all of the things that you need. And who's the best contractor that there ever lived? The most brilliant architect is your innate intelligence. And your innate intelligence has these little workers that live inside the cells. And there's 75 trillion cells in your body. Each cell does 260 million things a minute, all controlled by this innate intelligence and through the control center called the brain. And it has these little workers called exosomes. Every cell has thousands and thousands of these exosomes in them. And these little things come out of the cells that are being delivered to your body, and also that if the damaged cells there, and they send out a signal. It's like they send out a radio signal, SOS, come here, I need this. And they use their own Morse code to get the body to deliver the exact nutrients needed to heal that area of the body. The body's so amazing. The greatest physician that ever lived lives right inside of you. And if anybody's ever watched Star Trek before, Bones had that thing that it went over your body. It's called a tricor. This thing is a sound machine. It's sound. It comes through the body and it creates an effect that tells your body via the signaling factors created by the exosomes that are inside your cells. It says, this is what we need to heal, and your body can heal. Now, medications that cover up symptoms and don't ever go towards healing are useful for just that. But now we know that there's so much better ways for the body to heal. Wouldn't you want to do that? You know, we've got a couple minutes left here, but I want to talk about the human potential. How many of us are living up to our potential? I know I'm not. You know, I get on this radio show mostly for myself because I want to, you know, go through the process of figuring out what I can do better, you know. But I also want to encourage you out there that nothing has to stay the same. You know, you can always have a new beginning. You can start today to make this the best life you've ever had. Some of you might be in so much pain or broken down to a point, and mentally, physically, or chemically, that you just don't think it's possible. But something's going to happen. Time and gravity are not working for us. We've got to learn and use this incredible innate intelligence we have to work against time and gravity. We know we can reverse aging process. Read my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. You can find it on Amazon. Get on my podcasts and McCollum Wellness Radio at any place you can find podcasts, and listen to them while you're driving. There's so much great information on there. You can go to Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube channel and subscribe. But you know, you can see a lot of great videos. I have some great guests on there. We talk about the inflammatory process. Again, a lot of times what people do, they get some inflammation and they try to shut it down too soon. And then you're not allowing the proliferation process to occur where you're, you know, it's like you're not getting a delivery. You're not getting the products needed to build a house. So you have to use recycled lumber that already has termites in it. You know, your body needs the nutrients, no doubt. And I go into that in all of my books. But you also need the willingness to take the time necessary to allow your body to heal. So when we use this machine on people, again, 80 plus, I'd say it's more like 90% of the people feel a positive effect the first visit. Very rarely do people have a negative effect. More common than that is they don't feel anything yet. But we do know that it works every time. It works on a molecular, cellular level to where when you use it in an area, you are causing inflammation to the area, which does allow proliferation of chemicals and materials necessary to create a remodeling of that joint or that ligament or that tendon. And so as long as we can get out all of the negative factors or reduce them as much as possible, the body's got the best chance to heal. So at any rate, if you have not tried this tissue regenerative therapy machine, I encourage you to try it. 831-459-9990. Call McCollum Family Chiropractic. You can also go to McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com and get a hold of us that way. But it's worth a try. As one of my the guys that I have giving a testimonial said, he goes, you know, it's worth $50 to see if it helps. Remember, there's only less than 600 in the country. When I got mine, there were less than 200 in the country. It's been a phenomenal, it's created so much change in people, given people hope where they didn't have hope anymore. You know, people, when they're in pain, they don't Their attitudes are not where they should be. Their creativeness is not where it should be. Their ability to work at their best potential is not where it should be. Their ability to be a good friend, family member, or spouse is not where it could be. Their ability to be the best parent is not where it should be. You know, to be a creator, an inventor, all of those things are hampered by this vehicle that we travel around in called our body. And I believe that we need to get it working as well as we can, so we can unleash our own human potential and more. So if you know anybody that needs to try this, just tell them to try it. Worst thing that can happen is they'd be the same, but that isn't the case, because now we know that regardless, it is creating those 3 steps on the healing process. Inflammation, 1 to 10 days, proliferation, 1 to 30 days, and then remodeling and built matrix building and remodeling within the first year. So how many treatments do you need? I don't know. Come in, let's do a mapping session. We'll do whatever imaging is necessary. We'll make some recommendations to you, and then we go from there. And may you never be the same. So we started the show with a song by my dear friend Steve Funderburg. He's got a lot of songs out on his Steve Funderburg music channel right now. You Can Be Free, sung by Tony Lindsay, 8-time Grammy Award winner. He sang at one of the, I think at one of the Warriors games even, or something. Maybe opening day, I can't remember. But at any rate, really appreciate you all out there in radio world, and it's really time for you to get out there and make a change. Go make a difference in somebody's life. Give somebody a call who you haven't talked to for a while and just tell them that you were thinking of them. That could change their day and change their life, just that little bit of a touch. The best book I ever read is called The Secrets to Success. It's 1 page, 1 word, and it says serve. Go out there and serve your friends, serve the planet. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
You can be free. You can be free. You will rise above whenever
KSCO.